Okay, I want to extend a very, very warm welcome to our guests today who represent the various institutions that the students have been working with. I want to acknowledge Ms. Amy Green and Ms. Shana Shire from Headley-Whitney Museum. I want to acknowledge Ms. Rebecca Montana-Smith from the Village Branch. I want to acknowledge Mr. Paul Tippy and Ms. Janice Huber from the B.L. Fisher Branch. And I want to acknowledge Ms. Valerie Edgewood from KDLA. Folks, we are so delighted that you guys took time out from your very, very busy schedules to be here. A little bit of history on what we're doing. The management course at the School of Library Information Science is a course designed to teach our students to be effective managers when they finally get jobs and work in information professionals, because that is definitely a skill that is lacking. And one of the ways I thought that the students would be more adept at taking on responsibilities in the workplace in terms of management would be for them to actually work with a real life institution and build a skill set that is based on real issues. I thought creating hypothetical situations does not give them the full gamut of experience that I think they need. So when they called and knocked on your doors, I'm so happy that you guys so graciously allowed them to work with you. And what they've done is they were able to get into your institutions, look at your operational processes, look at your budgets, look at various things that you were doing, and sort of come up with recommendations for process improvement, budget improvement, etc. Each group is probably going to focus on different aspects when they analyze your institution. And I want to note the creativity, and the groups have spent a lot of time just trying to make sure they impress you guys, and I hope you're going to be impressed. I certainly was, and look at some of the rehearsals. They put a lot of hard work. I've been really, really brutal with them, and I'm hoping it has paid off. So they do have a final document which they will give to you guys to go and look at, and you're very welcome to speak with the consultants at any other time. They could meet with you to discuss some of their findings and discuss some of their observations. And these are recommendations. It is not meant to be, if it comes across like that, it's not meant to be an indictment on how you run your business. It's just purely observational, and it's purely recommendations and suggestions. Okay? All right, the other thing I want to do is also acknowledge that we have from SLIS, we have Will Bunton and Dr. Stephanie Reynolds here representing SLIS, and we have all our students. Under normal circumstances, if you had a real presentation with consultants, you'd have an opportunity to ask them questions after the presentation. Unfortunately, given the restricted time, we're not going to be giving you an opportunity to ask questions, but we do invite you to speak with our consultants when you do have time to negotiate and look at some of the findings that they've come up with. Okay, I will be calling on the directors and the representatives from various institutions to comment on the presentations afterwards, however. All right? All right, I thank you for your kind indulgence so far, ladies and gentlemen, but we have our final presentation now, and Noolbenger 5, you guys want to tee up?
Welcome, we are Noolbenger 5. I'm Jessica Harrington, I was the presentation engineer.
I'm Heather Burke, and I'm the project editor.
I'm Desiree Perry, I was the artistic director.
And I was Justin Condor, the marketing analyst.
And I'm Danielle Never, and I was the strategic coordinator.
When our group was first formed, we were once jokingly referred to as possums. While this wouldn't be a typical mascot for a normal group, we decided to reclaim this image, and we've taken the name of the Australian honey possum, Noolbenger, as the name of our group. Just as possums see the world from a different perspective, we have decided to consult from a different angle. We are proud tonight to be presenting several proposals to the Headley-Whitney Museum, a true gem of the bluegrass.
Your museum was created to preserve the legacy of George Headley III, a prominent jewelry designer and collector of the decorative arts. The decorative arts encompass functional items such as jewelry, furnishings, and other ornamental objects. The museum is located on the original Headley family farm, La Belle, amongst Lexington area horse farms. It features a unique blend of architectural styles commissioned to suit Headley's culturally diverse taste in art.
Over the past few months, our group has performed a SWOT analysis of your strengths, limitations, opportunities, and potential threats. We've designed a three-part plan to address the areas that you felt were important to your organization. Rather than a normal strategic plan, we have chosen to design a marketing plan for you to look at. And I will now turn it over to
So we respect your need as a private institution to keep certain financial data confidential. And for that reason, we have chosen, rather than presenting an overall strategic plan, to present tonight a 3-part marketing plan to address needs that you identified during our initial consultations.
Because the largest percentage of your revenue is comprised of trusts and grants, which is relatively stable over time, we decided to focus our attention on other sources of income. In particular, we decided to try and increase the museum's presence in admittance and venue hosting through our 3 mutually supportive marketing proposals.
the first proposal we have is for a functioning, integrated social media system. We noted that though many social media windows already exist for Headley-Whitney Museum, the museum would profit from such a system. Now, one of the first things to note is that an integrated social media system, the example citations of which can be found in our document, is a marketing solution strategy which identifies the best social media for your purposes, minimizes repetition of workload, and analyzes the most effective results in order to generate best practices. It's not enough to simply check for increases in hits and likes. What is needed is an integrated system. Now, the need is growing to ensure that the social media being invested in has staying power and is most useful for your museum. Marketing blogs like HubSpot give good indicators for most popular social media such as Facebook and Twitter, but not all social medias are relevant for your needs. A 2001 Mashable social media study indicated that Pinterest was used heavily by those in your area, the East South Central Zone, including Kentucky, by people with interests in crafts and interior design, and those with a high degree of education. Pinterest also has the highest hit percentage with older demographics. All these are already your strengths. An integrated social media system will augment your effectiveness and visibility on sites like Pinterest and has demonstrable results for museums. The National Museum of the American Latino noted that social media, tightly integrated in their 2011 campaign, dramatically increased their membership and their visits. At the start of their integrated social media campaign, they had 3,000 followers on Facebook. But just over 90 days later, they had 50,000. We propose a targeted internship opportunity to focus on the creation and maintenance of such an integrated system. We have a mock posting of the job qualifications included in our folder with supporting rationale. We also propose job advertisements, such as this, to be distributed to local colleges, marketing and communication departments. The intern will be selected for their background in marketing and public relations, as well as an ability to work with little supervision. This will also be cost-effective to you. In the final analysis, social media success is not simply a mode of marketing, it is an ongoing conversation with your community. An integrated system will ensure that you control that conversation. I will now turn it over to Heather and Debbie.
Thanks, Justin. So I'd like to talk now about the second proposal, which has to do with the museum's role as a venue host for professional and private events. Currently, from the approximations we garnered from our consultations with you, venue hosting represents 20% of the museum's overall income percentages, and it's the second highest to grants. So it's an area that is great to look at for increasing revenue. However, we did identify 2 gaps that we feel could be bridged. First is Feedback for the museums as a venue host has been largely by unreported word of mouth. For instance, say I were a client and I had a positive experience. Say my friend Will Bunton here wants to host an event. I would tell him, I had a great experience, Will, at Headley-Whitney. I think you should really book them as your venue host. They're wonderful. Now, that's positive, and we definitely want to have that customer feedback. But when you can't record it, it's not useful for tracking and measurement purposes, and also you can't use it in promotional materials. And we'll be discussing some ways to do that later on. Next, we feel that the advertising for venue hosting could feature and extend to a more diverse demographic, reflecting your commitment to multiculturalism.
And two ways that we have identified to bridge those gaps would be the first would be to find a way to incorporate word of mouth on the website itself, and the second would be to display images that feature cultural and diverse ethnicities for your promotional materials.
So the first proposal we'd like to make for you for this is to create an online feedback form for venue hosting particularly. This is a way to record customer feedback so you can keep track of it and also use it in promotional materials. By including those testimonials on your website, you'll provide potential customers with what's called e-word of mouth, or e-WOM, that they can use to evaluate your services so that they can make an informed decision about using you as a venue host. Now, an example from 2011, Chinese hotel chains saw that when there was a 10% increase in online customer reviews, there was a 5% increase in overall bookings. And these are hotels that provide similar services, experience goods that have to be evaluated only after the service is complete. So based on that proxy situation, you're looking at a potential 5% increase in bookings. Also, we want this to be part of your brand reputation, building that brand reputation as an ideal venue host. This is an example of a feedback form that could be integrated into the venue hosting part of your website. It's very simple and can be created with the Dreamweaver software that your organization already uses. So the cost to you would be time mainly. There is a query at the bottom asking for permission to use those reviews in promotional materials for the museum to make sure that you have that permission from your customers.
Multicultural advertising, which we mentioned earlier in our presentation, can be defined as a type of advertising that is aimed to reach culturally diverse audiences simultaneously through the use of cultural representations such as objects, values, or beliefs that reflect that culture. And that is in direct contrast to target marketing, which is a more specific demographic and usually narrows the focus. An example of multicultural advertising would be when McDonald's launched their 2003 Spanish-speaking ad campaign, which also boosted their company sales by 32%. Now, current Lexington and Fayette area demographics show that over a quarter of the market is non-Caucasian. So, and this percentage is likely to increase in the future due to a study that we looked at. It said that the rates of new marriages between interracial couples has more than doubled between 1980 and 2008. It went from a 6.7% to a 14.6%. So this percentage is likely to increase in the future, and we believe that Headley-Whitney can take advantage of this by incorporating multicultural advertising into their promotional materials. Now the next slide is an example of a wedding and events brochure that Heather and I put together. As you can see, it incorporates some multicultural images as well as the EWOM reviews. And multicultural advertising can be as simple as just featuring or displaying images that feature people of different ethnicities. And especially in the case of that top left picture there, you can see that the bride is wearing a traditional Indian wedding dress, which is also an element of multicultural advertising.
So another thing that I would like to point out is that this sample page in the brochure is based off your existing e-gala brochure for weddings and other events. And all the images that are being used are, here are low-cost, royalty-free stock photos that range between from $20 or $25 for what we've used here. However, if you wanted to maintain authenticity, you could use images that you have at your disposal